Come on,
you're my wingman. You're supposed to be helping me out. Alright, so tonight we are going to Fort Randolph in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. It's a fort, it's a replica of well, there was a Fort Randolph, wasn't there? There was Fort Blair first, which the Indians burnt, and then they rebuilt to Fort Randolph, which also eventually got burned. So the fort now is not in the original location, but it's they do a lot of reenactments and stuff like that for different events. And tonight they have, we'll say it together. This is like Christmas. One, two, three. Tales at the Tavern. That's right. Yeah. We don't have a script, people. So they're doing a little different this year from because of the virus. Usually we all gather around like inside the tavern, which is really, really cool. And then just random people get up and tell ghost stories. Whoever wants to tell a story, that's what they do. But this time they can't do that inside, so they're going to lead us around in groups and tell some different tales. Mason, did you bring a change of underwear? So it's about ready to start right now. It's dark. I hope the video turns out. I don't want to turn a light on the people telling the stories or anything, but we're going to go ahead and head over there. It's looking pretty spooky. A lot of scary crap going on out here.
I look like an alien.
You do. Let's see what happens. The death pass.
I wish that actually scared me. I'd get rid of my...
That's our ticket.
246.
Ooh.
The fort was built in 1776. In 1777, Chief Cornstalk, the Shawnee war chief, came to the fort and told the militia here that there was going to be a raid against the Greenbrier settlements. They didn't really trust Cornstalk. Cornstalk sometimes had a habit of not telling the truth. So he was a very pampered prisoner while he was here. He was allowed to go anywhere in the fort, but he wasn't allowed to leave. His son, Ilanipsico, decided to come looking for him. He came across the river, came over to the fort, and while he was in the fort, 2 hunters were attacked by natives. And one of them was killed and scalped, and the other one was wounded. So they blamed that, the militia blamed that on Ilanipsico. And a mob formed, and they killed Chief Cornstalk. So that's mainly what Fort Randolph is famous for, is the murder of Chief Cornstalk. The fort was abandoned in 1778. There was a siege by the Shawnee, Delaware, and Wyandotte. It was abandoned in 1779, and the natives burned it right behind the shed. It's got kind of a spooky history, also. If you guys want to come in, we'll go ahead and sign for.
Well, I'm the old badger, and I have this business, and I lost an employee out of an unfortunate accident.
Get out of the way. They can't understand a word you're saying. Good evening to you. How are you now? My name's Maggie, and this is Old Badger. And we are looking for a little extra help. We have a job to do tonight. We have a job to do tonight, and we've lost a member of our team. Look at these fine. They can work. Yeah, they can work. Are you good with a shovel?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you are. Are you good at like moving dirt around?
Yeah, I've buried many bodies.
Well, the good news is we're not burying bodies. We're not putting them in. We're taking them out.
There's not a lot there's not a lot of money.
Never
putting
took
them
one
in.
out before.
There's a lot more money in that part. Putting them in, you don't make that much. But
How
taking
much
them
you
out,
paying?
Oh, listen, and we'll tell you all about it, all right? And then we'll tell you how much money you can make at it. What if I told you, who's this guy you're with?
My uncle.
Your uncle. Mm-hmm. Does he work anywhere?
UPS.
Ah. What if I told you that you could work 3 nights a week with us and make double what he makes in a year?
I don't think that's possible.
It wouldn't be that hard.
Oh, yes, it is.
He said he'd be the soul for my baby.
No, I never.
All I need him to do is uncover some things, and I think we can work it out.
All right.
All right, well, Badger here works for the medical supply business.
That's right.
Okay. He supplies,
That's right.
I'm good at talking. All right, he supplies the specimens for the medical schools, for the doctors to practice on so they can learn, all right? And he does them a great job, because you see here in the colonies, that's illegal. It's illegal for the doctors to get someone to practice.
Well, they can practice on the
I'm
murderers.
doing the talking. They can practice on the murderers, but there's only 5 or 6 of those a year, and you can't train a whole medical school of young doctors on 5 or 6 people. You got to have a lot more than that. So that's what Badger supplies to them, you see, and it's a good thing that he does, because we know the doctors need to practice, right? I mean, you don't want to go to a doctor that's never practiced, right?
No, you don't want to go to a doctor and he says, well, gotta cut you open, but I've never seen the inside of a person before. This ought to be grand fun. I saw the inside of a cat once, but you know, the pieces are is in different places.
Yeah, what if he says, could I make the hole a little bit bigger, you know, like from your chin to your belly, and open you up and kind of see what it looks like in there? 'Cause
Hey,
I've
what
never seen
happens
it.
if I push here?
You don't want to go to a doctor like that. Yeah. So we're the ones that help the doctors train so that you don't have to be like that. I know.
See what she's thinking?
I see her face when she walked in. She looked right at the coffin, and that's what she
You
thought.
think
You're thinking grave robber.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can see it in your eyes.
Yeah.
Right.
We are not grave robbers.
No,
all right?
no.
Grave robbers are terrible people. The grave robbers dig into the graves and they take out clothes or jewelry
The
or
stuff.
the stuff that poor dead person has. That's illegal. That will get you hung. We don't want the stuff because
No,
we're not
all we take is the
criminals.
body. And the law says the body don't belong to nobody because the person that owns is dead.
So that means it's not exactly illegal.
Right.
So what we're doing is almost legal, all right?
But
So
you-
it's almost kind of, yeah, all right. So, but now, don't feel bad. Grave robbers is, we get called that all the time. We also get called things like body snatchers.
Body snatchers.
And
Sack 'em up
sack 'em
men.
up men. Ghouls. Yeah.
They call us a
Terrible,
ghoul.
terrible.
Yeah, awful.
We call ourselves resurrectionists.
That's right.
That's what we do. We resurrect the dead to be of some good in society, whether they ever were before or not. And it's a noble job because we think of ourselves as human, what's that word?
Humanitarian. Humanitarian.
Human tards. That's what we are. we don't take things from our fellow man. We give things back. We try to help everybody. It's a noble job,
Right.
and we do it because we care so
It's a
much
large
about our
and
fellow
caring
man.
heart. That's right. And we got a job to do tonight, and I'm one man short because old Lucky showed up for work drunk the other night, fell in a hole, busted his neck, and went to visit old Scraps before anybody knew what had happened.
Yeah, isn't that terrible?
Well, lucky
Well, it
wasn't
wasn't
so
so
lucky.
bad. Yeah, he wasn't too lucky, was he? But we were. We took him to the doctor and sold him the next day.
Wait, what?
Yeah, there's plenty of money for that. But anyway, so we need somebody else to fill his part tonight while we go out. So,
Right.
oh, yes, sir.
Well, I think he volunteered.
Are you
So let me
volunteering?
let me show you what you
Yeah,
have
we
won.
have that. Now, the first thing you need to see is that we only use wooden shovels
That's right.
because we're just moving dirt that's already been moved once, so we don't need a big metal shovel to do that.
And-
And these don't make any
Please don't make
noise.
any noise because we don't want to alert the families because we care about people. Haven't those people lost enough already? They've lost a loved one and they're grieving.
That's
How
just-
bad would it be for them to come tomorrow to stand by that grave and grieve and see a mess and think, well, somebody done stole it?
That's right. Would that be all?
So we put everything back. It's exactly the way it was. So they stand there and they cry and they grieve and they're none the wiser that
That
they
he's
ain't
not
there
here
anymore.
anymore. So,
But that's why we have to work at night and in quiet life. So I'm going to give you, first thing I'm going to give you this fine smock to wear, this big shirt. And that's to kind of, you put that over your not so nice clothes so they're not less nice after we're done. Because sometimes the dirt gets on them sometimes. And every now and again a specimen might ooze or leak just a little bit. And this just kind of soaks it up. Now don't worry, you can get used to anything for the kind of money that we're going to make. You gag once or twice and you can get over it. And this cloth, we're gonna put this cloth down beside the grave. We're gonna take a wooden shovel and we're gonna shovel all the dirt over onto the cloth. That keeps the dirt from getting in the ground, in the grass, so that people can know that we've been there messing with it. And then we don't have to uncover the whole coffin.
Oh, no.
No, we only uncover down to about here.
But a third.
Because we want the dirt to hold the rest of the lid for the next part of the procedure. You see, I told you I'm a professional with all the tools. We take this little bumhole maker here, and we bore a hole right there next to his head.
Now, not in his head, because the doctor won't pay you for an extra eye.
Well, unless there is actually an extra eye.
Yeah, then he'll pay you for it.
That's a medical
But you don't want
curiosity.
holes in his head.
But then I'm gonna take this little corkscrew looking thing, and we'll fish that down through that hole, and turn it around until it grabs hold of the lid. And then me and you together will take hold of the rope, and 1, 2, 3, give it a real sharp yank, and it'll break that lid right there where that dirt's holding the rest of it on there, and there'll be old Jimmy.
Just laying there ready to take you for a
Who's
walk.
Jimmy?
Or Elizabeth, or Grandma, or whoever.
Johnny,
We
whoever.
call all of them Jimmy.
But then we're gonna take these 2 hooks right here, and we're gonna slip those underneath his armpits, and just slide him out.
Just
slip
put
him
him right out, just slick as can be.
And when we get him out, we take everything on him off and put it into the box, all the jewelry,
The
anything,
coffin, put it back
back
into
in
the
the
coffin,
coffin.
yeah.
and then fold him up, put him in the bag over there.
You know, you can fold dead people really
We
easy.
can put 2 people in there if we need
Just
to.
flat.
It's kind of like UPS. and then we put the lid back on, put the dirt back in, and smooth it all out so it looks just this way.
And how long do you think it takes to do that?
40 to 45 minutes.
40, 45 minutes.
If you're sober.
Yeah. And that means that you and your partner ought to be able to do 5 or 6 of those a night, right?
One night we got 19. 19, yeah, that's because we was in a pauper cemetery and they bury them 6 or 8
On
deep.
top of each other.
On top of each other. So you just dig one hole straight down, bust the end off, pull them out, put them in the bag, and oh, it was a good night.
Yeah, it was a great night. That was a great night.
Well, Maggie, tell them what your party and all this
Well,
is.
now you're probably wondering, so what do I have to do with this? Because I'm not going to go in there and dig a hole in the middle of the night. I'm a lady and I don't do those kinds of things. But I don't know if you can tell or not, but I'm dressed all in black. That's because I'm a professional mourner. Do you know what that is?
Nope.
A professional mourner is a professional crier. That means I get paid to cry, follow behind the coffins on the way to the funeral. See, I go like that, and people think I know who's in the coffin, and then I care that they're dead, which I don't because I don't know them. But that makes them look like they've got more
It's
friends.
important to think that for people
Yeah.
to think you had a lot of friends. So you have to hire them sometimes.
So not only am I going to follow along behind that funeral, but I'm going to protect you. Because when we get to the graveyard, I'm going to stand there and watch them put it in the ground. And I'm going to make sure that they don't do anything to that dirt to try to catch you. Because they will. They'll try to catch you by putting things in that dirt. Okay, sometimes even explosives. So I'll see that. And at night we meet here for dinner, about 10 o'clock. And I'll say, okay, here's the bodies that I followed today. This is what you need to watch out for. So I'll protect you for that. Isn't that nice of me?
And you
Sure
don't
it
want
is.
how much you have to pay her now, right?
Yeah, you're thinking, so how much of your money am I going to get, right? I don't want your money. That's not what I want at all.
You better not want my money.
Yeah. All I want from you is when you pull whoever that is out, if they've got a good head of hair, I would like you to cut it off. Right?
Okay.
And then I'll take it to the wig makers on Monday and sell it to them to make wigs for the fancy ladies and gentlemen. Where do you think they get their hair for those wigs? They don't grow on the tree. And the other thing I want you to do when you pull them out is this. Can you see what those are? That's teeth. Yeah. I want you just to pull the front teeth, eye tooth to eye tooth, right up here on the top. The dentist calls them the smiling teeth. And he's going to buy these from me to make dentures for them poor people that don't have no teeth. Right? Now, the back dentures you can't see, so he doesn't care what kind of teeth are back here, but when you smile at somebody, you don't want to smile at them with a mouthful of cow teeth. You know, that would make it really gross. So he's going to buy human teeth from me. Now, if you can only pull one pair out of these 6 on the top, do you know which pair I need pulled?
These ones?
Which ones do you think?
The big ones.
The ones in the front, or are you talking about the ones on the sides?
The ones in the front.
Yeah, you would think that, wouldn't you? Now, you may be a little young to know this, but I bet these people have heard people say, ooh, I'd give my eye teeth to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's where it comes from. It's the eye teeth that are worth the most. I get 11 shillings for a set of these. That's enough, gentlemen, to feed me for 2 months.
Wow.
Just for one set of teeth.
Now, your original question was, how much money am I gonna get?
Yeah, tell him how much money he's gonna make.
Right now, we're getting 12 pounds for everybody we take to the doctor.
Oh, ain't that something?
You know how much that is?
No, he doesn't. He can tell by his face. He doesn't know. No, here. Let me help you understand. Let me help you understand. Did you see the soldiers out here walking around?
No.
They're out there. And did you see any of the common men walking around? What like this gentleman?
Yeah.
If he was just a common laborer, they make 15 pounds a year, and you're going to get 12 pounds per body. So that means you're going to make almost a year's wages with every body that you turn into the doctor. And tonight you got 3 to do. So by the end of the night, you're going to make a year and a half wages just tonight.
Now, I only got 3 rules you gotta follow. Rule number 1 is no drinking on the job. It's gonna be a problem for anybody?
I'm 12.
All right.
Well, that doesn't stop most of the young men.
Most of them are into gin anyway.
Yeah. The
Rule
boys are
number
drinking
2
gin at 8.
is you're gonna come into a lot of money really fast, and you can't go spending it. Because if you look poor like you do today,
Oh, excuse me.
and wealthy tomorrow, people are gonna talk and wonder where the money came from. So you put that money away.
You don't want people to get suspicious.
You don't want people to get suspicious. You put that money away, and then when you get enough, you move 50, 60 miles away where nobody knows you, all the way to Charleston or somewhere like that. And then you come in as a wealthy person and nobody will ask you any questions.
Do whatever you want.
And rule number 3 is don't you go flapping your lips about this thing offer that I'm making you. Because if you do, old Badger will be coming for you. And I know where my next 60 pounds is coming from. You understand what I'm saying?
You know what I think Ups is going to be less one man on Monday.
Well, thank you all very much. Sorry to hold you a little bit long.
This is a Native American storytelling here. We'll tell you a couple stories, and I hope you like them. You want to go first? You want me to?
Oh, go ahead if you want.
Okay. Let's see. What do we got? Some young guys. Yeah.
An old guy.
An old guy. Hey, here's 2 old guys right here. But,
What are you talking about?
is this the first place you've been to?
No, second. We was at the tavern a minute ago.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll tell you I got a story. Everybody seems to like it. I'll tell you this one. It's about a very strong and powerful Potawatomi warrior. His name is Honkathay. The Potawatomis lived up by the Great Lakes. This is a very powerful warrior. And this story begins that he's sitting in his lodge and he's smoking his pipe, and Wabithe the Swan walks in. He says, "Mighty warrior, we've come to ask your help. Please help us. We have no one else to ask. For you see, the ice monster has stolen our cousin Nyake the goose, and we have no one to rescue her. Please help us." And the mighty warrior didn't say nothing. He just sat and smoked his pipe. Wabithe the Swan said, "Mighty warrior, we have come. We have brought you fish that you can smoke and eat on your long journey. We have brought you quills from our brother the porcupine to decorate your leather, and we have brought you tobacco that you can put in your pipe and smoke and offer your prayers up to the Creator through the smoke. Please help us. We have no one else to ask." The mighty warrior sat and smoked his pipe. He said, "Wabithe," he said, "I will help you. I will go and rescue Nyake from the ice monster." So he grabbed his buffalo robe, grabbed his snowshoes, grabbed his bow, and he grabbed one arrow. Wabithe the Swan says, "Mighty warrior, I do not mean to dishonor you in any way or show any disrespect, but you will need more than one arrow, for the ice monster is a giant." He said, "I will take one arrow." So he headed north. It's a long journey. He got to the snow fields. He put his snowshoes on. They carried the warrior across the vast fields of snow. When the icy wind started biting into his flesh, he put his buffalo robe on. And it wasn't long he was in the midst of the ice mountains. And he looked, he seen a giant cave entrance. He says, "Ah, the home of the ice monster." And he starts walking towards the cave entrance. And before he even gets there, the ice monster appears. He says, "Puny human, what are you doing invading my home? I'll rip your legs off. I'll tear your arms off. I'll grab your head." And the ice monster never said another word. He fell over dead with one arrow sticking from his throat. For you see, Honkathay killed the ice monster. He rescued Nyake, took Nyake back and presented Nyake to Wabithe, and everyone was happy.
But you see Nyake the goose? Nyake remembers. Nyake still remembers to this very day. Have you looked in the sky? You've seen geese flying, right? You've seen them fly, how they fly in a V. That V represents the arrow that was used to kill the ice monster. And in honor and respect for the great warrior, they chant his name as they fly. They've cut it down from honka theta honka. And as they fly, honka, 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 honka. And where they live, the lakes and rivers and streams, their footprints represent the snowshoes that carried the warrior across the vast snowfields. So when you see these things, you can be like Nyake, and you can remember also. Well, throw you a ringer. Yeah. I bet you won't expect this one. No. I'm just going to tell them a native secret. Okay, don't give them the secret. Can I tell them? Yeah. This is a native secret that's been passed down for thousands of years, and white people don't know this. So don't go telling nobody, because they're probably going to know where you heard it. But if you ever look when you see them geese flying, one side's always longer than the other. And there's a reason for that. And the reason is there's more geese on this side than there is on this side. Now, don't tell nobody, so white people don't know that. Go ahead, let's have it.
Very, very ironic to his story. But I'm going to tell you a story I heard from the storyteller who basically taught us. And his name is Nyake.
Yep.
And he was named, that which is the Canada goose, he was named that because he said as a boy he was always talking a lot. So they said he was talking a lot like the goose. So anyway, he tells a story that a long time ago there was always monsters around just waiting to gobble you up. So nobody wanted to come out of their wigwams. And finally one strong man came up and he said, I'll kill the monsters. And he went around and he killed all the monsters that he could find. And finally there was only one left, and it was a great bear. And he met up with him, and they fought. And they fought, and the day turned into night, and the night turned into day, and they kept rolling around. And finally, the man wounded the bear. But the bear reared back and wounded him with the claws. And then he stopped. And the bear looked at him, and he looked at the bear, and the bear spoke. And he said, brother, you bleed, I bleed. It is good. We are both strong. We should stop this. And they decided after that, the Shawnees look at the bear as their brother. And many Shawnees will have 3 green stripes on their face when they face paint in peace times. And it's to honor the claws of the bear that scratched the first guy who killed the monsters.
Wow.
Good.
So, Nyake he's a retired Methodist minister. And I guess from years and years and years of singing in a church, he can hit high notes and he can hit low notes. And his bear is a lot lower notes than I am. So he's a very interesting storyteller.
Wow.
I hit some low notes the other day. When I was up at Kroger's. Low.
Jeez.
Tell them possum's tail.
I can tell you possum's tail. You know what a possum looks like,
I like
right?
this story.
Oh, I know exactly what a possum looks like. That's my
Possum
dog's name, Possum.
Is it?
Yeah.
Possum has that long, skinny tail. Well, possum way back when had a great big fluffy tail, and he would shove it in everybody's face and go, look at my tail. Isn't it gorgeous? Don't you wish you had one like this? I comb this 500 times every night, and it's just absolutely wonderful, and it's a shame you don't have one like this. Finally, the animals got tired of hearing it, and they all got together, had a meeting, and they said, what can we do? And the one says, I've got a friend who's a barber, and his name is Cricket. And if you ever pick up a cricket, and those legs are real scratchy like and everything, and his crickets can cut things with their legs. So they said, okay, we'll work this out. Possum, we found this man who's going to make your tail even better than you thought possible. And we're going to have this honoring, we're going to have a fire, we're going to have a feast, we're going to have a dance, we're going to have everything honoring you and your tail. And Possum's like, oh, I can't believe this is going to be so good. So finally they went there, and he went to Cricket. And Cricket's like, oh man, I have never worked on anything this gorgeous. Look how smooth this is, snip, snip, snip. And look how great this is, and the color, and snip, snip, snip. And as he's doing this, he's just doing that, and he finally wraps it in silk ribbon. And they go up, and Possum's having the big thing, and he's having the time of his life. He's dancing, he's singing, you know, they're eating and everything else. And finally they go, Possum, it's time. Show us your gorgeous tail. And he whips off the silk ribbon, and it all got quiet. And then they all started laughing. And he looked, and he's like, what are they laughing at? They should all be jealous. And he reached around and picked up his tail, and it's just that long, skinny rat tail looking thing. And he was so embarrassed that all he could do was get this stupid grin on his face and faint dead away. And if you see a possum to this day and you scare it, it'll faint like it's dead and have this stupid grin on its face. He got it from the first possum.
And with the bill again.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, thanks for coming.
Show her small tricks. And the magician, for instance, would be a magician's going to lie to you, and I won't. I'm going to cheat you. There were no magicians in America in the 18th century that we know of, but there were a lot of Faulkners. Mostly they were street entertainers and conmen and street conmen. And the reason I do this is, for one thing, I love history. I'm a historical entertainer. That's what I do for a living. And I also don't want you to get caught in this. For instance, someday you might go to college, and someday you might be in juvie and figure out how to do this. But anyway, what I want to show you is one of the oldest of the three of the short cons, short confidence game. These are going to be very quick, and it's still played today. It's called the three-card Monte. It's about 450 years old. What it is you start with 3 red cards. And on one of these red cards, you're going to make a little black mark. Now, the idea of the black mark is then you just follow the card with the black mark. Now, in the 18th century, a lot of times they wouldn't use red, they'd use black cards instead. So that would really confuse people, and then we just take a little bit of red, mark on it, and do it that way. So they realized early on, though, if you use one black card and 2 red cards, then you could do it that way. And for points of I'm going to use 1 red card and 2 black cards, because it just seems easier for me to do it that way. All right. Now the idea of the 3-card Monte was really quite simple, actually. I'm going to sit here and throw them like this, and I'm doing 2 things. Number one, I'm going to use the idea that the red card is in the middle, and then the pattern that I'm throwing. Of course, this pattern is called a triangle. Triangle. Yeah. How hard is this? All right. So I would continue to do that. Right now, it's called a friendly game. It's called a friendly game because there's no money on the table. That's what you need to learn right now. There's no such thing as a friendly game. There's money on the table. All right. So once I do this, after a while, you get used to the idea that the red card's in the middle. This pattern I'm going to throw in. If we decide to play for money, then it comes to the point where, okay, now I can switch things around because I'm going to throw the pattern differently. Now I'm going to throw the pattern like this. So it confuses everybody because nobody knows where the red card is. But you know where the red card is. Yeah, it's pretty obvious that it's in the middle. Right, very good. So you know the red card always starts in the middle. Now, if you know the red card's in the middle, you know the red card cannot be over here. The red card cannot be over here. The red card's going to be where? Right there in the middle. You must always watch the red card in the middle.
Wait, that wasn't red, that was black.
No, the red card's in the middle. Pay attention. The red card always starts in the middle. It's not a hard concept. You don't get out much, do you? All right. Now, the idea, of course, that you just keep your eye on the red card. That's the one you want to watch. So I'm going to do this. Now, this goes very fast, lightning fast speed, very, very quickly. You might not catch it. So here we go. Watch closely. Keep your eye on the red card. I know my eyes hurt just watching this. All right, so 1, 2, or 3, where's the red card?
In the middle.
Yeah, you're thinking straight. The game's crooked. Okay, you should learn to cheat because you kind of suck at this. All right, we'll try this again. Remember, it's the red card. I like you, so watch the red card. You watch the red card, and I'm going to help. I'll give you a hint. Okay, so watch it here. What?
I bet it's in the middle.
No, it's not in the middle, it's that one.
I think it's in the middle.
Dang it!
The red card starts in the middle. You watch the red card in the middle. Don't watch these, watch the red card. Remember the red card. All right, here we go. I'll do it again. I'll give you a hint. Because I feel sorry for you. There's your hint. Where's the red card? No, the hint is it's not that one.
Oh, wow.
Look, you can trust me. You just got to know when. Now, look, okay, so the red card either has to be this one or it's got to be this one over here. It's got to be one of those two. So I'll tell you what. Here, let's just do it this way. I'll do it this way. Here, it had a 50-50 chance. They don't do this on the street. So which one is it? That one? You sure? Which one is it?
It's neither of them. It's that one.
Double. No, stack. I don't know.
It's neither of them.
It's gonna be over
that
there
one.
somehow.
Somehow. You know what? Let me help.
It's on your back, Bobby.
If I were doing this on the street, or if I was doing this today, I'd be using a gang called a mob. And there would be probably 6 of us. And the idea, well, we were working together. In the 18th century, I'd be by myself, or I might have one person, sweetener with me, but in this case. And I need a shill for this. Would you mind helping me? A shill. You're going to be the shill.
Yeah.
It's very simple. The shill's very simple. Now, instead of having to watch for the card, you don't care where this card is. You don't care if it's here or here. You don't care where that card is. You're watching me. If I go like this, I want you to yell, I double the money, because you're working with me. Because I'm only going to take one bet. And the idea, of course, is if I take one bet, I'm going to take the highest bet. So if I take the highest bet and you're the shill and they get it wrong, I'm not going to do anything. But if they guess right, if they guess the card right, then I would go ahead and take their and just go like this, and you would say,
double the money.
Okay, so here we go. All right, here we go. So it's a simple concept. So all right, here we go. All right, 1, 2, 3. Where's it at?
Right there.
Double bet over there. Very good. And you just would have won. You see? See, your heart was right. Remember, I'm going to take the highest bet. So we'll try it again. We'll try it again. We'll give you another shot at this. You know? So remember, you watch the red card, and that's what you want to do. So, okay, watch closely. Here we go. Oops. All right, 1, 2, 3. Where's it at?
1.
There.
Double up.
Double the bet over there. Very good. And you would have won again. See, there's only one way to win. And the only way to win is if you get more money down on the table than the shill does. So in other words, what you need to do is you need to bet, you need to get him money and his money and her money, and then you're going to put all the money down, and then you would bet. Because that way, you'd have all the money down, and you have more money than my shill. Make sense?
Yeah.
So now, what we would do is we would go ahead, you'd get all the money together, and you're going to bet 1, 2, or 3, where's it going to be?
Yeah, no.
Oh, I'm sorry. That card was spent. I'm really sorry about that. I'm really sorry. Cheat me if that was a bet card like that.
That one was
That's the only way.
Trying to cheat, Mason.
I wasn't paying attention. I was listening to you talk.
I saw that one was bent, so I was starting to look at it.
Yeah, guess
'Cause
what?
That one was the red card.
You know what you
did
learn?
your
You know what you
magic
learn? You know what
trick.
you learn? Don't play this for money.
I looked at that and I pushed that down.
That is awesome.
That's good.
Don't play this for money. And these are the kind of things that the Monty men, the Faulkners would have done. Very similar. It's very similar. It's a little easier in some ways.
Are you gonna extend
It's the same thing. 1p. There will only ever be 1p. I will not cheat you. That's a lie. I will not lie to you, but I will cheat you. There's only 1p. If I ever go like that, see where the p, it will be under one of the 3 shells. I will not hold it
under
past
one
you.
of them?
It's in the middle.
Tangent. Yeah. Oh man, if I do that again. All right, watch carefully. Here we go.
Oh.
All right, here we go. Watch carefully. I'm going to move it here. I'm going to move this one 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 over here. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Where's it at? Okay, you're thinking straight. The game's crooked. I told you that before. You don't pay attention to me at all. All right, tell you what. I'll give you another shot at it. Watch carefully. All I'm going to do is just move this one in a big circle like that. That should be pretty obvious. And then these two are just going to go like that. And I'm going to move them like that, crossing my hands, which throws you off. So 1 through 3, where's it at?
So off, it's to the right.
The what?
Middle.
It's the right one.
Okay. All right, put your finger on it.
Okay.
You want to try? You want to pick another one?
Yeah.
It's the middle one.
That one.
Okay. Go
No,
ahead, but it was
it's that
actually over
one.
here. All right. Obviously, you're having a bit of trouble, so I tell you what.
It's insulting.
I'll tell you what. Do me a favor. What's your name?
Sean.
Pick the P up, Sean.
Okay.
Put it anywhere here on the table you want. Okay. Who was the last person to touch the P?
Me.
All right. What's your name?
Mason.
Mason. Pick one. Anyone you want. Put it on top. All right. Who put the shell on the P?
Mason.
Me.
Who was the last person to touch the P?
Me.
Move that over there so I can see. All right. Mom, sister, whatever you are.
I don't know.
would you do me a favor? And you got the dog, don't you?
Yeah.
That's all right. I can get
That's
it.
right. Would you do me a favor and pick any glass you want and put it on?
Oh.
Anyone,
Yeah,
you could
definitely.
just put any glass and put it on. Okay, who put the glass on the shell and the pea?
Drake.
Who put the shell on the pea?
Sean.
Who's the last person touched the pea?
Sean.
Okay. Do me a favor, sir. Take your finger
Yeah.
and put it right here.
Okay.
Yeah, just put there. That's your thumb. Put your finger right there.
Oh, finger. Gotcha.
All right. Who put the finger on the glass on the shell and the pea?
Steven.
Who put the glass on the shell and the pea?
Greg.
Who put the shell on the pea? Who's
Mason.
the last person touched the pea?
Him.
Me.
Okay. Do me a favor. 1 or 2.
2.
Okay. Do me a favor. Put your finger on it.
Oh,
Who picked the last shell?
Mason.
Me.
Who put the finger on the glass on the shell and the pea?
Steven.
Who put the glass on the shell and the pea?
Greg.
Who put the shell and the pea?
Me.
Who's the last person touched the pea?
Me.
So the pea can't be over here.
What?
What?
No, it's not in there.
Don't play this for money.
No, I call it sorcery.
Sorcery.
No, don't play this for money.
Yeah, would you got burnt for this in the 1800s, or we passed that time period?
Oh, no, they actually never did.
Oh.
Magic was always considered called the crafty arts.
Oh.
It was illegal because they knew it was a trick. And mostly because of the women and children that I had working for me picking pockets.
Right. Well, that makes sense.
And this is called a game of skill and chance. And that's why we got away, because it was a game of skill and chance. The problem is, the truth is, it's my skill and you have no chance. Great deal of perseverance and self-denial. Thanks for asking. Study. I practice.
Are you speaking gibberish?
No, I practice a lot. And remember, kids, stay in school, because I did. Look what it did to me. All right.
A tale of perhaps bewitchment. Normally, you would not find me, a man of New England, in this Virginia territory, but as I said, I have a farm in Tarrytown, Pennsylvania. If I do say so myself, it is a large and quite successful farm where my wife and my infant daughter Katrina are there still, anxiously awaiting my return. But as a moneyed man, I must indulge in secondary business practices, and have entered into a business partnership, if you will, with a local fur trading company. We shall soon begin exporting fine furs from the Virginia territory into the New England area. But that is neither here nor there. What I wish to share with you this night is some news that I had from a letter written by my son. He's 19 years old, and he fights with the Continental Army in this great revolutionary undertaking that we have against our British oppressors. He writes me faithfully each week and tells me of the great deprivations through which they've gone, the lack of proper uniform supplies and weapons. But his last letter came to me and spoke of a great battle which occurred in a place called White Plains, New York. Now I will tell you this before going forward. Our British oppressors, those red-bellied miscreants who would tax us without providing us representation in Parliament, do not have the manpower to defeat the colonists. They don't have enough soldiers, they don't have enough weapons, and they do not have the proper military know-how to stand against we, the natives of this land. So they have resorted to cheating. They have hired mercenaries, vile men of a most base sort, lovers of spirituous liquor, insulters of women, brawlers in the streets, those who would trade their soldiery and their violent tendencies for coin. They have selected these men from all over Europe and brought them to our shores to fight against us, and none more so than in the nation of Germany, where the Hessian people have taken the money of the British to take colonial lives. They've come to our shores, they've allied with the British, and they battle against us daily. And in the Battle of White Plains, the British and their Hessian brethren stood against us. It was a great battle, with a boom of cannons to the left and to the right, the flash of muskets and the clash of swords. One particular Hessian, a particularly vile fellow who came to these lands for sheer want of coin and carnage, rode atop his trusty steed, his sword drawn, striking at the enemy to his left and to his right relentlessly, until suddenly he found himself in the path of a cannonball. You might say that must be the end of it. For to find yourself in the path of a cannonball would be the end of anyone's tale, sure enough. But not so with this Hessian. Through some enchantment, bedevilment, some witchcraft or wizardry, this Hessian, whose head was swept clean from his shoulders by the cannon shot, and who fell from his horse that day and lay dead upon the ground, buried in a soldier's grave, words of bereavement spoken over him. That should have been the end of it, but nay. The spirit of the Hessian rose from the grave, remounted his steed, rode to and fro in the countryside. My son writes that in the days since the Battle of White Plains, which only occurred earlier this month, the Hessian has risen every night and stalked the lands on horseback. Some say he carries under his arm a great jack-o'-lantern with a fire blazing inside. Others say he carries a sword or an axe. Some say he carries both. But all say that this Hessian rides forth from beyond the grave in search of his missing head. Now I would tell you, were it only a simple tavern goer to tell me this tale, I would dismiss it as such pitiful stuff. But it is my son, and he is of an honest nature and a clear head. So if he is fearful of this Hessian, I am fearful of him as well, and I must return to Pennsylvania, to Tarrytown, the little place, the little village that we locals call Sleepy Hollow. I must return to my wife and my daughter, and in my travels, should I encounter that headless horseman, he shall have a fight on his hands if he tries to take my head. Now that's the story portion of this exhibit. Let me give you a little bit of a historical connection to Fort Randolph, so to speak. Washington Irving wrote The Legend of Sleepy Hollow in 1820. The story itself was set in the late 1700s, in the 1790s. Fort Randolph historically stood from 1774 to 1776. So we're actually a couple of decades early. That's why I described my daughter Katrina as being an infant, because by the time we get to the 1790s, she'll be of courting age, and a skinny fellow by the name of Ichabod Crane will come calling on her. Now, I will tell you that if we imagine the fort being erected in 1774 and us being in the year 1776, the Battle of White Plains actually took place. It's historically correct. And the British and the Hessians did fight together against the army of the continent. That is the battle, the true historical battle from which Washington Irving selected his headless horseman. Now from there I move on to say that I always assumed that the headless horseman was specific to the legend of Sleepy Hollow, and it was that single ghost story, and that was the end of it. But I learned in my research that was not the case. The legend of a headless horseman dates back to the Middle Ages. It was always a combination of a fighting man, a soldier, a man of war who rode forth into battle on a horse, and who, through some violent means, lost his head, was laid to rest, and then rose again from the grave to mount his horse and ride to and fro in search of the head he had lost. And over the centuries, it became a sort of a boogeyman to threaten children with. Eat your porridge, or you'll see the headless horseman tonight. Finish your arithmetic, or surely the headless horseman will visit your dreams. And the legend of the headless horseman endured from the Middle Ages through the colonial period into even the 19th century. Indeed, there is a novel written simply titled The Headless Horseman, which takes place in the state of Texas and in the time of the cowboys and gunfighters. I haven't read it. I've just learned of its existence only a few days ago. But the legend endured for centuries, and we still enjoy ourselves by indulging in the tale of the legend of Sleepy Hollow. And, disclaimer, I am not an agent of the Disney company. However, if you have Disney Plus, you can watch The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad. The first half of that movie is the story of the Wind and the Willows. The second half is the legend of Sleepy Hollow. It's narrated by Bing Crosby through song and dance. It's an animated film. It's a good time. We used to watch it when I was in first and second grade on the old 35mm projectors on the chalkboard. That's how far I go. So I thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you.
I'm not sure what stop I am on your tour, but I encourage you to settle it down in there. We've guests. I encourage you to enjoy the exhibits you see after this. After all, this is a simple ghost story. There is much more rich history to be found moving forward. And I encourage you to visit the trading post and exchange your coin of the realm for the fabulous wares inside. Again, I do thank you for your kind attention. I wish you safe travels on your way home. And I would have you have a blessed and wonderful evening. Thank you very much.
The colony. George Washington's colony.
Oh, Washington's colony.
Yeah, I hear you got a ghost story about that.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Have you heard about the colony that Washington had across the river?
I have something in my pocket that might have been from there I want to show you. But anyway, go right ahead.
Absolutely, yes. I have found an item from over there before as well, which is, when I look at my story, it brings the thought of the ghost coming back to us. For you see, Washington had planned on establishing a colony here. He had sent men back here to establish a plantation. They were going to plant. They had an apple and a peach orchard. They sent trees with the people. They had actually sent quite a few to start setting up a settlement. And this was all before the fort was here. This was all before 74, before 76. But he sent these people here, and they all just disappeared. There's no record of whatever happened to Washington's lost colony. And I'll tell you what's happened to it. And you can go over there today, and you can still see the results of the ancient ones. The ones who once lived there. And you look back in your history, look back in your books, and you'll hear stories, and you'll read stories about the Indians who lived here long ago, but no longer with us. Well, on that ground that Washington had sent the people to establish, they built their cabins. They had a nice little settlement. They were safe, and they planted their orchards. The apple trees, the peach trees, they were all planted into the ground. And they were beginning to clear the bottomland out so they could plant the crops. Well, as they were taking their plows through the ground, one of the men, it was not quite noon yet, he was going along the bottomland just across.
Oh.
That's a creepy time, right? That's pretty
See
good.
what I told you?
That's pretty good.
See what I told you? They're worried about me telling the story. That's it. Okay. And if you look, it's across the river. Right over there was where their plows tore into this low hill that was in the ground. They had to flatten it all out and clean it all out so they could plant the crops. They were planting tobacco. But as they were driving the plow got stuck. And it wouldn't move. The lunch bell rang, and the men stopped. He left his horse there. He left the plow there, and they went to eat. And after they ate, they came back with shovels, and they began to dig in the ground around the plow, figuring the roots were in the way. And they dug down, and they found what looked like an old brown root, and they ripped it out of the ground, and they threw it into the river, and they kept on plowing until the sun went down. That night, they went back to their homes, and they had their meals, and they laid down, and they went to sleep. And a mighty wind began to blow up through the valley. Have you ever heard the winds blowing up through the valley? They do. Well, a wind blew up through the valley, and the door to the man's cabin, who was plowing, and had picked up this stick and threw it into the river. It blew open, and at the foot of his bed stood this ancient one. Didn't look quite like the Indians that lived in their land. They weren't Shawnee. It wasn't a Shawnee. It was like he could see through him, but there was something wrong. His leg was missing. He was standing there on one leg, and he was reaching out to the man, and the man sat up, and he yelled, and it seemed to disappear. The man was shaking, but he thought, I must be dreaming. And he went back to sleep. He rose up the next morning. They went back to plowing the field. And they came back to about the same area. When they ran into more of these sticks, and they began to throw them into the river one at a time. And then they looked, and they came across the skull. And the skull of a man. He'd been there so long that it turned brown. And they picked it up. Instead of reburying it, they threw it into the river as well. And not only that one, but as they plowed that whole area, they came across many different warriors. And as they plowed, they stopped at lunchtime and they set up their canopy and they sat and ate. And it said that as they sat, they could feel eyes upon them from around the forest. They figured it was probably some of the passing Indians that had walked through. They used to travel through the area all the time. But there were no Indians here at that time. There weren't any traveling through. None stopped at their cabins. But they felt like they were being watched. The men finished eating and they came back to their plowing. They picked up more bones and they just threw them into the river. They didn't care. They were nothing. They were just old bones. And they threw them into the river and they disappeared. They went back to their cabins that night. And that was the last night that they would leave their cabins. For that night, not only did the plowman's door blow open, but a mighty wind blew up through the whole Kanawha Valley. It blew all the way, it blew from the mouth of the river all the way up through. It blew the doors to the cabins open. And all these parts of these Indians would appear at the foots of the bed, and all of a sudden they all disappeared and the wind blew in, and such a great burst of air. It blew all the cabins to pieces, and the pieces flew into the river. The cabins, each of the cabins, you can show me today where the cabins are. Show me where they were. There's no trace of them. The wind that came up through the rivers blew the cabins away, blew the orchard away, blew all the people away. And to this day, if you go along the Kanawha, about where Washington had sent his colony, is meant to set up this plantation, you can look, and you don't count many houses of people who live along the river. There are few who live along the hillside, but along the river, there aren't any, because the ancient ones still own the land. They're still there today. So be careful. Watch out for those winds. The wind never blew like that before. Again, it never blew like that since. And that's the story of the ancient ones.
Okay, now show me the thing we found.
They really liked us. A lot of people were still here.
Oh.
It's all right. Is that the Fiji mermaid there?
Fiji mermaid. Yes.
Yeah.
There she is in the corner, still out in all her glory.
And that's why I don't drink Fiji water right there. That picture comes to mind every time I look at the bottle.
That's right. Fiji mermaid, right here by P.T. Barnum.
P.T. Barnum, that's
Yes.
right.
American Museum. That's all you need to know.
Mm-hmm.
Go look it up. Yeah, I know.
And we do hope that you come and see us to our event in December, Christmas on the Frontier.
Yes.
As well as all of our other historic events. You all have a wonderful day, and you all have a safe journey home. Thank you for visiting. We do hope you come and see us again.